the horse is Lord Fountain. The year 1920. Lord Fountain is a bad horseman and is about to be thrown. He is also the father of twins, Timothy and Bernard, whose mother is about to leave them. She's leaving them partly because she is bored and partly because she is not Lord Fountain's wife. There is an unconscious motive, too. Lord Fountain's babies are ugly and their mother wants them to die. Since this is an unconscious motive, we're in a dilemma as to whether to hold her responsible for the act of desertion or not. This is where Lord Fountain gets thrown. Meanwhile, in the house, Nanny is in tears. She is frightened of Lord Fountain and despises the heartless mother who is now on a train to London. Nanny will never forget the things Timothy and Bernard's mother said when they were born.
Oh! Oh, the little... Ow! The devil's a murdering little...
Push now, miss.
Oh, it's no good telling me to push. What I need's a block and tackle. Oh, hell! Where is he?
Lord Fountain, madam.
Oh, where is he? The sadist!
He's just been recovered from the lower lake, madam. He's all wet and swearing.
Not again.
Yes, his horse threw him in, madam.
Oh, I'll kill these things when they get out. I'd leave him if it weren't for the money.
Lord Fountain has heard of his mistress's departure and is rather pleased. He was getting tired of her. He prefers Nanny, who adores him in a servile fashion and makes excellent cocoa.
Well, Nanny, good riddance to bad rubbish, eh? How are the little blighters?
How are you, sir?
Oh, nothing serious. Swine chucked me into the ditch the other side of Bassett's paddock. Broken leg. I hated that woman anyway.
She left a letter, sir.
Oh, did she? Oh, let's have a look then.
Dear Jeremy Pops, I am leaving you and going back to Towser Griddle. He now has a studio in Chelsea and wants me to model for him again. Compared with you, Towser's a sweetie. I've never really liked you. I think I must have been swept away. It was lovely pretending to be a lady. But I must have marriage and security, and all these Towser promises without fail. You're a selfish man, Jeremy. Also, I could never find my way around in that awful house. Nor suck up to your awful friends. Try not to think too badly of your Maggie Poo.
She's going back to Towser Griddle, Nanny. You remember Towser?
Indeed, I do, sir.
What do you think of a fella taking up art like that?
I think it's scandalous, sir.
Yes, inbreeding. Half the griddles are raving, picturesque, but the little bitch. Oh, well, never mind. Let's have a look at the youngsters, eh? Come on, the youngsters. Which do you prefer, Nanny? The fat one or the thin one?
Oh, I love both the little darlings, sir.
Is it genetic, do you suppose?
It all started when Miss Maggie lost her milk, if you ask me, sir.
The seasons came and went. The early formative years passed. The twins grew. And unaccountably, Lord Fountain began to dislike his natural sons.
Bastards. Little bastards.
They were innocently precocious and quite puzzled about certain things to do with grown humans. At the age of 11, they fell in love with the bailiff's daughter, Lord Fountain was angry when he found out. And one day, on a duck shoot, coroner's verdict, death by misadventure. Timothy and Bernard cried for 3 days, then gradually forgot. And Lord Fountain built his bailiff a new house. What are known as the clouds of war were gathering. Lord Fountain was marrying into and divorcing out of several distinguished families. His lust for legal progeny was manic and unproductive, and he tended to work off his frustration against birds. At Oxford, the twins were renowned for their eccentricity and their pathological fear of Adolf Hitler. Late one night, in Hillary term, Timothy and Bernard were sitting in Timothy's room, wondering what they were for.
What are we for?
I don't know what we're for.
Makes me sad, Bernard.
It makes me sad.
And they were harmlessly sitting there, being melancholy, when Hitler walked in.
Lasse mich nicht von diesen Fettherren irgendwie dumm machen. Und ich kann nur das deutsche Volk bitten, dass es niemals auf diese dummen und blöden und schwindelhaften Phrasen dieser internationalen Weltjuden eingeht, denn es sind doch nur Juden, die diesen Schwindel in der Welt verbreiten. Das geht nicht. Und hier werde ich die Forderung vor der Welt immer mehr und immer erneut aufstellen. Auch wir verlangen unseren Platz am Leben und an der Lebensmöglichkeit.
Meanwhile, Lord Fountain is hospitably conducting General Remnitz on a wildfowl shoot in Scotland. Remnitz has a bad temper and is a bad shot. On the advice of his doctor, he has abandoned the military cares of the Third Reich for a long weekend. Fountain wishes to placate Remnitz, but is infuriated by his bad luck with the fowl. Desperate situations inspire desperate remedies. It turned out that they had both had the same nightmare. Nonetheless, they felt that the occasion should be celebrated. Certain young ladies admired this innocuous fun so much that they contrived to meet Timothy and Bernard for tea a week later.
Honestly, it was just like something by Bunwell.
Oh, darling.
Marvelous. What are you going to do next?
I think Bernard and I were meant to be a single person.
Only something went wrong.
Our father is biologically unsound. No one could accuse him of not trying, but he can't legitimately reproduce himself.
Our mother lives in a cage.
Yes, in Chelsea.
She makes the best of it, and she's looked after by a charming fellow named Towser Griddle.
Father, on the other hand, is obsessed by primogeniture.
You see, we were born on the wrong side of the continent. Father supports us out of pique, which is a paradox, but then he's a man of paradoxes.
Maturity is going to be a problem.
Though we may not survive the war.
What war? What war? What war?
Are you out of touch with the European situation?
Fascism is the continuation of capitalism by other means.
Are we boring you?
We do lack a sense of proportion. It's largely because we're bewildered.
Jolly girls.
Awfully pretty.
Shall we ever settle down?
We might, if we live.
She was only a mum in a gilded cage, a beautiful sight to see.
Will Griddle keep his mysterious hold on the aging beauty in the cage?
Will Lord Fountain, the dastardly seducer, continue to entertain a high-ranking Nazi officer?
Will the twins, the bastardly invites,
Plant the Union Jack on the rubble of Berlin?
And 13 months later in Chelsea,
I see your father's got married again. Bit thick with them Germans, isn't he?
I won't hear a wrong word against Fountain.
Never mind. You two's good proletarian stock on my side. Fountain used to drive me silly with his 2,000 years of this and 2,000 years of that. You think he'd been alive 2,000 years. Have you said bye-bye to your girlfriends?
I haven't got a girlfriend.
Bernard,
Neither have I.
don't you like girls?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
What do you make of that, Towser?
They're probably fixated on you still, I should think. They can't contaminate your image with sordidness.
Towser's very up on people's sexual difficulties.
I've often meant to ask you, Mother, why do you stay in that cage?
Well, don't you like it, dear?
It isn't exactly normal, is it?
I won't hear a word against your mother.
It's his pictures. He can only paint pictures of women in cages.
I don't think you and Father have done your best for us by any means. Why am I so fat? Why is he so thin? What does it mean, Mother?
That's how you come into this world. And that's how you go out of it. It's the will of God. Now, don't go getting yourselves killed.
Father hates us.
Man's as sterile as a eunuch. That's his trouble. And when he hits the jackpot, what are the circumstances? Illegitimacy. Mind you, there's something very odd there. Something psychologically unsound. Still, how would you feel if you couldn't procure legitimate heirs?
Procure?
Get, obtain, incite, cause, produce. Look at you. I've never seen a pair of more lugubrious nitwits.
Fountain does give you money, lovies.
The point is, we're extremely sad.
Why?
We don't know.
I think it's the world.
Have you really tried?
Tried? What?
Oh, there's lots of lovely things.
Where?
Everywhere.
Well, if they're everywhere, why can't we see them?
Oh, it's ever so tedious when people are gloomy. That probably accounts for the girls.
They're not men. Fountain's fault. Not that I want to blacken the man's name, but look at him. He almost made it, but not quite. He got the form, but not what you might call the content. You two haven't any content.
They're half mine, you know, Towser.
Form from Maggie, absence of content from Fountain. The poor fellow's a kind of creative vacuum. Thank God my lot were human, like trees. Big, thick, barky sort of trees. All urge and sap.
Now you've hurt them.
Well, I'm really sorry, but they're probably going to do something idiotic and get bumped off anyway.
Towser!
I don't know why people can't be superficial and jolly. I'm trying to paint, damn you.
I don't want to fight. I want to look after animals, furry ones.
Same here. Only with me it's fish, lovely, shining, choreographic fish.
Can't the animals and fish look after their bloody selves?
The green-crested gibbon is practically extinct in Sumatra.
And what about the whales? Spiked, harpooned, dynamited. You Griddles would soon complain if people came after you.
12 Griddles lost their lives in the last war, I'm proud to inform you. And I hope you have the same luck.
Towser?
I can see it. 2 gun carriages, one with a fat coffin, one with a thin coffin. Union Jacks, salvo, the last of the crypto fountains. For king and country boys. And if it wasn't for my aluminium leg, I'd be right there beside you.
There wasn't even a field mouse left in Flanders.
Who wants mice?
There were lice.
Well, there you are, then. Where there's lice, there's hope.
He makes me dejected, Mother.
Things that upset Timothy upset me. I was upset anyway.
Why can't you be positive? What's the matter with you? If old Tunny Crook has any sense, he'll post you two in opposite directions. Ah, that'll be a lesson. And then you'll have to be independent.
We like each other.
You're a disgrace to a fine regiment. Maggie, come out of there and boil my egg.
Lovely man, really, when you get to know him. He has to have his egg round about now.
Oh, he doesn't keep you locked in there, then?
We did at first, but I'm glad to say he doesn't have to now. I know me place.
Yes, well, we'd better be off. Bye-bye, Mummy.
Bye, Mum.
Bye-bye, lovies. You'll hang out the washing on the Siegfried line, won't you?
But Lord Fountain was against the idea of any sons of his shooting at the people who managed his factories in the Ruhr. He knew some people at the War Office, and they managed to find a nice battle for Timothy and Bernard in the Far East. It was very green and wet and exciting. But during a retreat, Timothy and Bernard got lost. Whilst they were trying to find out where they were, Lord Fountain contracted his 6th marriage.
What I want to know, Harriet, is, are you a fecund woman, or are you not?
Well, I don't know, Jeremy.
Any opinion on the matter, Harriet?
Well, it may be superstitious of me, Jeremy, but I can make things grow. I really can.
I'm talking about babies, girl, not vegetables.
I know, Jeremy. I know.
I told your father. I don't want just any old rubbish, I said. I want a woman. A buxom, breeding, lively sort of girl.
This is where Lord Fountain gets thrown again. Back in the jungle, Timothy and Bernard went on being lost. They forgot about the war and became vegetarians. They were getting very friendly with the animals. One day, they met a little Japanese. When Timothy and Bernard didn't try to kill him, the Japanese was very frightened. Fright often causes tantrums, and he had a tantrum. He threw his rifle on the ground. No one should be misled by this smiling foreigner. The rest of his platoon was burning a village and raping its women. On the other hand, the survivors from Timothy and Bernard's platoon were disemboweling some Japanese at a place called Tanyang, 300 miles away.
Timothy.
Timothy.
Yes.
Bernard.
Barnard. E. Shaki.
Ishaki.
Careful now.
All that day, Timothy and Bernard played the flute and sang for Ishaki. And Ishaki played for Timothy and Bernard. That was how Timothy and Bernard and Ishaki spent the war. Until one day, some clever men found out how to incinerate 100,000 Japanese in a matter of seconds. And in case this was a language the Japanese didn't understand, the clever men did it again. So Timothy and Bernard came back. Lord Fountain had obtained them sinecures in an old merchant bank. But they hated it so much, they ran away. They took a large room, WC, and bathroom near Regent's Park. And wondered what to do. Whilst Lord Fountain consulted a famous geriatrician.
I can assure you, Lord Fountain, that you are not sterile.
Then why can't I procreate, man? It's those women.
Let me see, it's 6 marriages, isn't it?
7!
Well, I would have thought, I mean, even from a statistical point of view, there ought to have been a little toddler by now.
We're doomed.
I beg your pardon?
My family, Doctor, was begetting barons, while yours was still in burrows.
And I have no doubt, Lord Fountain, that my family will continue to beget ordinary citizens when yours is extinct.
I have 2 bastards, you know.
Why, I didn't mean to upset you.
But they're peculiar.
What?
I think it's their mother. They're not real. They're not human. They're spiritually deformed.
In what way?
They don't do anything.
was Miz, wasn't it?
I'm sorry.
You sure it isn't because you...
Positive.
Then you don't like me?
I do like you, Poppy. I even love you.
Even?
What about Timothy and Laura, then?
Well, where is Tim, anyway?
Gone to the pictures.
Something nice?
Yes, it has to do with the Amazon, I believe.
Oh, God, you too.
It has an armadillo in it. Tim specially wanted to see the armadillo.
I'm quite willing to keep on trying, Bernard.
It's no use, Poppy.
You look silly in that uniform. Tim does as well. What do you want to go and work in a zoo for?
It's a complete enigma.
You've got to go there at this time in night for, anyway.
One of my elephants is sick. It has a tumor in its trunk, I think.
That way out of London. Why can't you work in a proper zoo?
It is a proper zoo, Poppy. It's very small, but it's very proper.
Time you got your weight down as well.
I was born fat. It's the metabolism. I don't seem able to intervene.
This room gives me the creeps.
We like it.
My last boyfriend had a flat in Chelsea. Just think, if you and Tim hadn't caught me and Laura feeding them ducks, I might still be with him.
Yes, it's a somber thought.
Might still have been happy.
My mother's boyfriend has a flat in Chelsea.
I'd have thought she was a bit old for boyfriends.
Oh, well, they're a sort of bohemian Darby and Joan, you know.
I told my mum you went to Oxford and was a lieutenant during the war. She was ever so impressed. She asked me if we was thinking of getting married.
I'm hoping to get into the aquarium next week. I've been trying to get into the aquarium for months.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Nothing.
You'll have to learn to overcome your handicap sometime, Bernard.
It isn't a handicap. It's more of a kind of symbolic incapacity.
Oh, which, in plain language...
Means I'm not cut out for loving people.
Well, what are you, then, a flipping pervert?
Don't be superficial, Poppy.
I think you're very evasive on that subject.
Not on that subject. I'm evasive altogether.
No, go and stick a thermometer up your elephant.
You make me cry in a minute. I cry very easily.
I love you, Bernard.
I didn't say I didn't love you. I said I'm not cut out for it. Damn it, it isn't 5 minutes since I said I do love you.
I'll go and do the washing up. And you can meet me from the office on Monday.
Alles ist kaputt, as General Remnitz said at Nuremberg.
What's that?
It wasn't his fault.
Well, what wasn't whose fault?
The lungfish has a stately mien. Its eyes are like 2 spoons. And everywhere the lungfish goes, it writes its name in runes.
What am I going to do with you?
What am I to do with myself? Did my father ask himself that, I wonder, twirling his mustachios over Mummy's navel? Did he ask himself? Yet.
I saw his picture in the paper the other day, all bandaged up. He said he'd been thrown at a point to point. If you and Tim was to make it up with him...
One of these days they'll have farms on the bed of the sea. Wouldn't that be lovely? I'll go down and never come up again. Just think, mowing the seaweed, milking the whales.
I don't know what you've got against your father.
And I'm tired of bicycling to the zoo. I keep getting punctures at the Elephant and Castle.
We could take the tube.
I couldn't bear that, Poppy.
Oh, you and Tim could afford a Rolls Royce each if you wanted one.
My father gives us all that money because he's a sadist. If people are determined to give you money, it's very difficult to stop them. Did you know that, Poppy?
Well, catch me stopping them.
Well, bye-bye, Poppy. Have a banana. There's a bunch in the kitchen.
Aren't we going to try again, Bernard?
Oh, I doubt it. This was my 118th fiasco since VJ Day.
In the meantime, Lord Fountain had been advised to expand and modernize his investments. He put $500,000 into pet food. Fountain Fresh, the food that dogs dig. By a sad oversight, however, it was unclear whether the food was for animals or from animals. And the day after Timothy and Bernard saw the adverts...
Well, is that all you can do? Sit there and smirk?
Well, since we let them out, it would be inconsistent to try to catch them again, wouldn't it?
What I want to know is why. For God's sake, why? Before I hand you over to the police, that is. Constable, give these two maniacs the latest.
1 wombat in Tunbridge Wells, a cheetah at Headcorn, 2 tigers and an elephant on the A20, 3 wolves sighted near Ashford, and a gorilla heading for Canterbury. In fact, sir, there's all kinds of ferocious animals swarming all over the country.
Well?
We couldn't stand it any longer.
No, we couldn't stand it any longer.
What about all those women and children out there in mortal fear of their lives?
Yes. And men, too.
Well, of course, men too, you cretinous imbecile. Oh, Constable.
Horrid. I never liked them.
Jeremy, you're all flesh and blood.
Flesh and blood. Tarzan. Can I dismount?
Yes, if you like. It's time for my egg.
Flesh and blood. Is there any flesh and blood left in the world? Look at her. Well, look at her. What's the matter with them all? You don't come up with something soon. David, if I don't bequeath everything to those 2 lunatics of mine. Just out of spite. When you get to my age, there's precious little fun in anything but spite.
I shall divorce you. I shall, for cruelty.
Good. Splendid. Get on with it. Leave me without an heir to my name. Maggie, have you noticed how selfish everyone's getting?
Perhaps you ought to get yourself examined.
I've been examined, woman. I'm as sound as a bell. I'm vigorous. They cheat me. That's what it is. That and those bastards of mine have put a blight on me. I've tried to be rational. But is there any use for uselessness? If there is, where? I'll offer them something in the Foreign Office. I've still got my influence, you know. My family's put its idiots into the Foreign Office for generations. Do you know, they turned it down. What did I get? I got a telegram. A telegram informing me that diplomacy is for squares. Square whats? Square whos? Is there even a conspiracy to befoul the withering language?
If you want to shout and be paranoid, I wish you knew someone else to do it.
You see, he's crippled with guilt as well. He took my Maggie Pooh.
There, Jeremy. Come along. I'll give you one more chance.
Isn't Bernard coming back?
Not till Monday. A friend of his in Berkshire's got some dolphins. Bernard's down there observing.
Dolphins? In Berkshire?
In a pool.
Poppy's very miss without Bernard.
Yes.
Was it awful in prison?
Yes.
Why?
I had an idea.
Are you really never going to see me again? Oh, I don't dig you and Bernard.
Something hurts
Where?
inside.
We'll go and see a doctor then. Oh, you don't half exasperate me.
I'm the bright one. Bernard isn't very bright. He's a sensitive one. I'm more cerebral. That's it. Bernard was very unhappy in prison, although they did let him keep a goldfish. After all, those animals we let out didn't hurt anyone, did they?
Except for that wolf eating some poor old lady's Pekingese. You ought to be ashamed, both of you. Serve you right being sent to prison.
I'd be all right if it wasn't for this pain.
There's got to be an explanation for everything. Pains and all.
I quite agree. But what is the explanation? Every morning when I open my eyes, I feel as if I just arrived. And everything's new and mysterious. At one time, it was very serious. I had to go round at bedtime, putting cards on things with their names on. Chair, bed, lamp, Bernard. Bernard looked quite odd, with a card pinned to his pajamas, with Bernard written on it. It helped, though, in the mornings. It made for reorientation. Otherwise, panic. I woke up once. There was a funny sort of smell in the room. I couldn't quite put a name to it. Do you know what it was?
What?
Air. Poor Laura.
I'm fine, thank you. Swinging. I used to think just because she was strange, it made you interesting. But it doesn't. I'm clearing out. You haven't got enough to occupy your minds, that's what it is.
Have you?
My mind's buzzing.
Funny. All I've got is a large blue space and a little silver bell chiming somewhere at the back.
Sounds lovely.
Sometimes it isn't a bell. It's a little bell-shaped man, and he sings. Ding dong, ding dong. It won't be long before you hear a louder gong. Ding dong dong ding. That'll be death peeling in.
Have you ever loved anybody?
I loved our bailiff's daughter when I was 11. Nothing's been quite the same since. I love Bernard, though.
Not me.
I was all right until this thing started hurting. Makes me egocentric. Can't concentrate on anything except how hurt I am.
I hate you.
I wish you wouldn't. It makes this hurting thing hurt harder.
I could kill you.
Well, at least that's human.
The following week, just as Lord Fountain was hobbling triumphantly out of the divorce court and humming gleefully to himself, Poppy and Laura hunted him down, threatening to sue Timothy and Bernard for breach of promise. Lord Fountain's mind said to Lord Fountain,
Aha, me pretties.
They all decided they hated Timothy and Bernard. And they went to the nearest cafe to concoct a letter. When they read the letter, Bernard fell ill and went into a coma. Timothy's hurting thing got worse too, but he had to keep a hold on himself in order to look after Bernard.
He's grotesquely overweight, you know.
But that isn't what it is it?
Frankly, I don't know what it is. Some sort of fever. Has he ever been in the tropics?
Yes. We once got lost in a jungle. Is that the nearest you can get to a diagnosis?
Yes.
And then we're illegitimate, and our father and our girlfriends all hate us.
Look, Amanda, let's start careering down one of those Freudian sidetracks, eh? You given that way?
No.
Well, then. Plenty of cool drinks. Quiet. And when he comes round, if you could have something nice for him to look forward to. Back tomorrow.
No one knew what was going on inside Bernard's head. But this is what was going on. Whilst Lord Fountain, recovering from a riding accident in the country, plotted revenge most foul.
Got it. Nanny? Nanny! Do you see this book, Nanny?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what it is?
I hope no one could accuse me of prying, sir.
Ah, you mimsy old devil. It contains the secret, Nanny. The light.
What's it called, sir?
Oedipus Rex.
Oh, sounds like some sort of dog, sir.
Don't be such a ninny, Nanny. The import of this tome is that I've got to get them before they get me!
And as Lord Fountain grew angrier and angrier, there was a distinct improvement in Bernard's condition. And he asked to see his mother.
It was damned embarrassing getting your mother here, I can tell you.
But I had a lovely time, dear. Hasn't everything changed?
It's enough to make any humanist weep. You put somebody in a cage, no harm meant, all very jocular. Before you know where you are, they begin to enjoy it. She carried it off with quite a bit of panache in the 30s. Of course, it's just a gimmick now. A very worn old gimmick, too, if I may say so. Look at her expression. She looks as if she's just had a prefrontal leucotomy.
Never mind, love. It's Bernie we've got to think about now.
Well, how are you, Bernard?
I had a lovely coma. All sort of porpoises.
I do love you and Timothy. I get sort of butterflies in my tum-tum when I think I actually carried you both inside me.
It must have been bloody cramped.
As a matter of fact, it was snug, not cramped. Bernard occupied more than his fair share of the space, naturally. But then, I needed less than the average.
How can you know you weren't conscious?
I have a kind of memory. There we were, floating between mother's hips, with our arms round each other.
Oh, isn't that lovely, Towsy?
I think it's awfully disgusting and untrue.
I think the outside didn't come up to our expectations.
What outside?
The outside of Mother.
And when they cut that cord...
And tied those little knots.
We knew we were finished.
It's no coincidence Father's letter made me ill. He had every right to expect two real people to pop out of Mummy, but can I help it if we're a disappointment?
Poor little Bernie. But Tim says he's got a lovely surprise for you to help you get better.
Damn it, we are all going around with our cords cut and little knots tied on us. Do we make a fuss? Do we get upset and start crying, eh? And letting other people's tigers out of their cages?
It's all right for you, Towsy. You got your pictures.
You should have stayed in the army. Not that you'd have been allowed to, not you two, oh no.
I think Art's had it. I think that everything everybody's doing is extremely useless. And what's more, they've been trying to kill me ever since I was born.
Who has loved you?
All of them.
As soon as we dropped into this world, what happened? Noise, light, bacteria. The moment you stuck your little fist out, it got burnt or bitten or fouled. As soon as you got used to daytime, it was night. It was the same with summer and winter. The whole thing goes churning on like some bloody great machine. What do they mean by cutting my cord? How dared they?
The fellow's drowning in self-pity. You've never done a hand stroke. That's what's wrong. And you.
Oh? And what do you think we were doing at the zoo?
I'll tell you what you're doing. You sat mooning over those filthy animals all the time. Tunny Crook took his nippers there one day and said he caught you singing to a giraffe. Do you deny it?
Well, no.
Need I say more? Need you?
We've had an eviction order. Father's bought this house. He's having it torn down.
Time to break camp.
I refuse to cry.
So do I.
I want any more soup.
No, thanks. I feel rather well, actually.
What a pity Mother ever left Barnsley. If she hadn't, we might have had one of those nice archetypal working-class dads, all love and pigeons.
Beer and braces.
And you know what he'd have done?
Send us to Oxford. Send us to Oxford. Send... Does it still hurt?
A bit.
Tell you what.
What?
My surprise. Wouldn't it cheer us both up?
It will. But it's a place. When you're really better, we'll go there.
I feel drowsy.
Any porpoises?
One
What's it doing?
grinning.
Do you think we'll survive? Down in Edgecombe Bassett, where the forms of love are tacit, there lived a man in a bowler hat who wondered what they were laughing at. It wasn't the hat, nor the brow beneath, but his lonely face hung there like a wreath. He had no one to love or cherish, and wept at the thought that man must perish. His days were stolen by the office grind. At night he pondered the concept of mind, until one sunny afternoon.
Tim?
I thought you were asleep.
They've turned into sharks.
The porpoises? What are the sharks doing?
Eating some people.
Who?
Father. And Bobby and Laura.
Open your eyes. Ah. Listen. What can you hear?
Traffic.
Yes. What else?
Jazz. Somewhere.
Bessie Smith.
I'm hot, aren't I?
The sharks have gone now.
Yes.
I was writing a poem. A sort of poem. In my head. I thought you were asleep.
Until one sunny afternoon. I heard the last bit. You said, until one sunny afternoon. What happened?
Go back to bed. And I'll tell you. Until one sunny afternoon, the light went dark, and there was no moon.
Dead.
Yes.
I think I have a great capacity for happiness.
I know.
You too.
Yes. Me too.
so.
Go to sleep.
All right. I want some warm milk with rum and honey in it.
All right.
Jim, run my bit of film, will you? You know the bit,
Yes. If you promise to go to sleep.
and we'll go to that place soon.
Who was it thought of you? What a funny thing to do. Your molecules break all the rules more than a kangaroo.
Old plump and muddy hippo, I'm very fond of you. You blow nice bubbles and you have no troubles, but I hate you in the zoo. Ooh, ooh. I hate you in the zoo.
They think we're both eccentric. They'll sack Lord Fountain's sons for nourishing the elephants with illegal currant funds.
That night, Lord Fountain dreamt he was being interrogated by God. Fountain was dyspeptic, and God was invisible.
You're managing to hang on a long time, Fountain.
I'm sorry, God.
You've got a face like a moldy wash leather.
There's this worry, anxiety. Where are you, by the way?
Everywhere.
Are you going to hurt me?
I thought we'd just have a chat. That's all.
Damn it.
Hurting you isn't my job.
Talk like a gas meter inspector.
Somebody has to inspect the gas meters.
Well, you might as well know. I've got it in for Timothy and Bernard. It's their birthday next Saturday, and I'm going to invite them down to a party and wreak me vengeance.
I see. Vengeance. Now that is my province.
What do you make of them?
They're very good at singing.
Oh, they're very good at everything useless.
They're gentle and kind They do their best.
Yes. Let me put it in another way. What do you think of them sub specie aeternitatis, eh? Couple of drivelling nits from that angle, aren't there?
Have you got a pain anywhere?
No, I never had a pain in my life.
No lumps, contusions, lesions, bruises?
You see that woman asleep beside me, that blonde?
I can just make her out.
You want to put your silly questions to her. She's barren.
You're a very old man. You should have more dignity.
Why did I learn Greek and Latin? I've forgotten them, but why did I ever learn them? A civilization founded on antiquity, blessed by the church, grazing harmlessly off its colonies. What was wrong with all that? Damn and wither it. I've only had the fag end in my lifetime. Those boys, they won't adapt. If only they'd adapt. They're knocking 40. We've still got a grip, you know. We've still got a firm grip. What were those statistics?
Quote, the top 1% of British adults owns 43% of total net capital. 20,000 own more than £100,000 each. 16 million, on the other hand, have less than £100 each.
Swinging.
Unquote.
You forgive me if I grin.
Why not? It's your dream.
I have those boys followed, you know. I know who they see and where they go. I have detectives on them. I've allowed them £5,000 a year, tax paid, since they went to Oxford. Do you know how much they had when I checked their bank balance last week?
How much?
£6, 14 shillings and 9 halfpenny.
Perhaps profligacy goes hand in hand with bastardy.
Profligacy, my foot, they keep giving it away. They don't like it. They've had the temerity to give it all to saving animals from the Kariba Dam project.
I will say I'm on your side, Fountain. I'm with you.
Oh, you always have been, haven't you?
That's the formula.
Bully for God.
Shall we stop dreaming then?
Yes, we might as well.
You old scoundrel.
Ah, a nation without some kind of hierarchy, my dear God, is like a body without a skeleton.
Well said.
The next day, whilst Lord Fountain was riding to hounds, and the present Lady Fountain was writing invitations to the party, Timothy was showing Bernard his surprise. Bernard has passed the night without a single shark and woken up completely better.
Do you like it?
It's just what I wanted.
I thought, with our birthday coming up, wait a minute. I've had trapezes fitted as well.
We could live here.
We're going to.
A cubicle each.
As many as you like.
We could have a brass warming party.
did you know we were being followed?
It's only Fountain's private detectives.
Oh, I thought they'd stopped.
You know, I think he must still love us, really.
Father?
Well, Mother does. Even Towser isn't actively hostile as he used to be.
But Father doesn't.
Well, the world's swarming with people who don't love us.
We'll be all right here.
Tell me, how did you manage to...
It's condemned.
But the water and all that...
I got us the full use of the place. Unless Father...
What's to become of us?
Race you to the deep end.
Poppy? Poppy, how did you find us?
What's the matter with the lights?
Fused?
Laura's coming. Why wouldn't you marry us? What's wrong with us?
We live here now. Do you like it?
He ought to have you two put away.
Oh.
Your dad. He's a nice old man. He's nice.
Come up on the balcony.
Would you like a swim?
Laura, I'm up here.
It stopped hurting, Laura.
What's he talking about?
Don't you start getting on at Tim. Look at that fat thing of yours, anyway.
Ah, he may be fat, but he's got beautiful eyes. I've missed him. Have you? Tim, I mean.
I'm scared.
I'm very solid. I'm very well made. Fat men needn't be graceless. There's a grace of the spirit, of the soul. If you don't hold that concept to be a laughing matter, I've seen fat trees and thin trees, fat warthogs and thin warthogs. A man's weight should be a matter of indifference to to a woman.
It isn't because you're fat, Bernard. Honest.
It's nice on this trapeze. All we need is some fireworks. A few Roman candles popping off here and there. And rockets.
How do you think we feel?
First of all, I should like to demolish any suspicion in your minds that we have a phony respect for the primitive. Isn't that so, Bernard?
I came across a tiger in the jungle one day, walked up to it, walked round it, examined it. Lovely piece of design. It was purring. Then it yawned. It was a hot day. I expected it was sleepy. Then I yawned, the way you do when other people yawn. Made my jaws ache. Well, we sized each other up. And it struck me as ludicrous that the damn thing wouldn't talk to me. It looked as though it had plenty to say if only it had the power of speech. But it turned on its heel and stalked away. Didn't give a damn. Didn't even want to eat me. Gave me a funny feeling right in the pit of the stomach. I began to sweat. Why can't we all talk? Birds, tigers, wallabies, people. What's the matter? What's gone wrong?
Seems to me the arrangements are inadequate.
Oh, I don't expect to get through without inconvenience. All I can say is there's been a jolly funny edge on things since 1939.
We used to be hopeful. I should say that by that summer, we were familiar with all the best visions. Bernard?
St. Augustine?
Give me chastity and continence, but not yet.
Aristotle?
Plato is dear to me, but dearer still is truth.
Cervantes?
Fear has many eyes and can see things underground.
Cromwell?
The state, in choosing men to serve it, takes no notice of their opinions.
Feuerbach?
A man is what he eats.
Kant?
The starry heavens above me, and the moral law within me.
Upanishads?
This earth is the honey of all beings. All beings, the honey of this earth.
Tolstoy?
Everything I understand only because I love.
Get stuffed.
Taxidermy?
Laura, wouldn't you like to come here and live with us? And Poppy, we might get better.
He's off his top.
I'd like a nice house.
Babies.
A garden.
Security.
Silver.
Ferns.
They can afford it.
That all sounds very sane and reasonable to me.
Well, is it off or on? That's what I want to know.
Lord Fountain says you two's derelict.
That was the word he used. Your own father, he ought to know you.
He's going to pull this place down and build a supermarket.
People like you ought to know better.
Know what better?
Everything.
Why?
You've had all the advantages. You ought to be helping to run the country.
Where to?
How should I know? Nobody asked me.
Oh, come on, Poppy. It's a bleeding madhouse.
The arrangements have been inadequate all the time. But don't you go imagining it was Lord Fountain shaped this bony pot. The contents were mere tissue when I was born. All pink and quiet and nice. Then what? If there's a God, I know what he is. He's a chuckling idiot with a tape recorder. And what does he do? Plays his tapes through my head. Is that fair? Is that any way to treat a baby? I've never had a minute's peace. Things flashing through all the time, even when I'm asleep. especially when I'm asleep. There's no such thing as madness. It's just that idiot indulging himself in a random playback. I'm not trying to reject responsibility. What I'm grumbling at is the interference, the outrage. I don't see how I'm supposed to make sense of things when they're so busy going on all the time.
One might emphasize that their mother's background was ideologically impeccable. Daughter, granddaughter, and great-granddaughter of servants. But I'm afraid she acquired a dubious admiration for the aristocracy. She dreamed of mansions, jewels, and endless supplies of port wine. Fountain was her apotheosis, and one can only assume that some kind of death wish took her in the direction of Towser Griddle. Those whom ambition raises, perversity brings low.
Where's your ambition?
Now look what you've gone and done. You've upset her. And what was all that about God? I thought you two was atheists.
Agnostics.
Well then, it's all blasphemy.
I didn't know you were religious, Poppy.
You've got to have something to believe in. What else have I got? Besides £9 a week and a bedroom overlooking the railway at Clapham. What's he got to cry about?
I think he really likes Laura underneath.
And I suppose you really like me underneath.
I suppose so.
Well, what about a bit of on top for a change?
Is it rough in Clapham?
Bloody awful. My dad wheezes down his nose when he eats his dinner. And my mum's false teeth click. That's Clapham for you. All wheezing and clicking.
Why don't you get your toothbrush and your bikini and come and live here?
Then what?
We could play water polo.
Forever.
I've ordered a sea lion. It can sing carols.
And I suppose it can balance you on its nose.
Don't be nasty, Poppy.
What does your brother mean when he talks about the arrangements? You're nothing but a pair of snobs when it comes to the crunch.
If that sea lion can honk its way through ding-dong merrily on high, then as far as I'm concerned, life has meaning.
Can't you stop him crying?
You're very grim, Poppy. Very bleak.
Tim?
Yes?
Do you want a bit of advice?
Yes. What?
Why don't you shoot yourselves? Both of you.
Why don't we? Did you put the bullet in?
No.
Why? We had the bullet last time.
Makes me too nervous.
Well, it doesn't make sense without the bullet.
You're going to start wanting things to make sense.
I don't want them to make nonsense. They already do that.
You're going to get me killed one of these days trying to make sense.
Or me.
Do we love Poppy and Laura, or don't we?
We love them.
And all the others?
Yes.
The animals, fish, etc.
Yes.
And all those trees and blades of grass and so on.
Yes.
The total setup, in fact.
The total setup.
And why the hell can't we get started in life?
Oh.
Now, what's the matter?
You brought my pain on again.
You're getting to be quite whimsical. It embarrasses me.
I am. What about you? What could be more whimsical than buying a sea lion in order to teach it songs from a threepenny opera,
I suppose you'd actually prefer it to go on braying away at all that Christian mythology.
I hold no brief for Jesus.
One, two. 1, 2, 3. I think I'd like another swing before I go to bed.
Bernard.
Just because I'm fat, you expect me to be reassuring. Why is that? Is there any valid connection between weight and optimism? Do you expect me to chuckle at the facts?
There must be some nice facts.
Expect me to wag my wattles and heave with glee just because all that stuff out there is there?
No.
Well then.
We could be engineers, doctors, architects, civil servants. Feed the hungry, house the homeless, build things, change things, modify the environment, so to speak. Serve our fellow men with passion and compassion.
Those girls are beginning to corrupt you.
My toes go numb sometimes. Do you ever get that? And my fingers. I wait for it to spread through the hands and feet, the arms and legs, till everything's gone numb. There I shall be, hanging inside my head, at an uncertain distance from eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. And the work of my own body will sound like the murmuring of voices in a distant room. I shall be reduced to my recollections. Bailiff's daughter, lying like a crumpled swan in a green field in my mind. Nothing done.
Come up on the trapeze. That'll make you feel better.
not parrots.
Otherwise, you realize, we're heading for extinction.
We could phase out the rubber animals and phase in the real ones.
So Timothy and Bernard swung nearly all night and made up poems and sang to each other.
Oh, Darwin was a funnian, and Marx had a septic bunion, whilst Freud left us in a void thinking, down with the lot!
On the Saturday, Tim and Bernard, dinner jackets by courtesy of Foundling Brothers, St. James's, hitchhiked to Lord Fountain's country seat for their birthday party. Fountain himself was failing. The paraboloid curve described by him from a horse galloping through Coombe Basset had resulted in a fractured collarbone. Nanny was noticeably gaga. The incumbent, Lady Fountain, bemused. Conversation at dinner had been desultory. Only Fountain, inwardly communicating with his macabre plans for the twins, displayed any sense of occasion. We have arrived at Port and Nuts. The ladies have been persuaded not to withdraw.
They were lovely babies. And Miss Maggie was lovely, too. Everything was lovely. I strongly disapprove of the last 40 years, sir.
Dear, wrinkled Nanny.
She was a bitch. She used to run my lovies like clockwork, pop bottle bath like clockwork, didn't she, lovies?
And you hated them. Everyone knows they're warped, and it's your fault.
Warped? What?
And now, I'd like to come to this evening's serious business, if you don't mind. First, I'd like to refer to the matter of an absent friend. I invited General Remnitz, who some of you may remember, but alas, his duties as public prosecutor have detained him in West Germany.
I thought Remnitz got his at Nuremberg.
Remnitz's case was reinvestigated and the charges against him declared null and void. In fact, he spent the entire war running a poultry farm near Hamburg.
He's kept some rum company in his time as Fountain.
Yes, and from one of my rubbish liaisons proceeded the issue whose birthdays we are gathered to celebrate this evening. It is, dear friends, a moment of reconciliation, a ritual. If fatherhood brings anxiety, old age brings humility. Thank you. One has many things to cherish. In myself, at the sprightly moment of their conception, I think I can claim the embodiment of that England now shattered, alas, by the puny reformers, the vulgar ethics of commercialism, the utter degradation of grace, chivalry, and honor. In my chosen partner, the vigor, devotion, and love of crown and country of the toiling classes. Thank you, Towser.
Regression.
Quite. The time was auspicious. Their consummation not devoid of satisfaction. And yet, God, in his infinite obscurity, saw fit, if indeed fit is the word, to curse the womb of Maggie Pooh. Boys, stand up. You will be given your chance to speak, but before that, and before the presence, the indictments. Certain of us here this evening have prepared statements which poor Remnitz was to have read out. In the event, we shall read our own. Nanny.
Ah, sir, they were always at it, breathing, looking, chewing. They picked flowers and interfered with the bailiff's daughter. Always stroking animals and watching the maids undress. Sinful, willful, weak and cowardly. Disobeyed the rules. Stubborn as mules. Wouldn't pray. Godless and lecherous from the start. Physical, sir. Too physical. Physical, physical, physical.
Thank you, Nanny. The zoo director.
To my certain knowledge, they fraternize with several species of fauna. Their conduct was prejudicial to good order and zoo discipline.
Poppy!
I loved him, the fat one. But I knew there was something wrong. You can tell when boys are serious. We tried intercourse, but it was a flop, and I began to worry. Me getting home late one night, my mother asked some searching questions about Bernard. I was shocked by my own reluctant answers. I glimpsed a world of vice and shame.
Go on, Bobby. Vice and shame.
What I mean is, well, don't get me wrong, I've lost my place.
The spiritual vices.
The spiritual vices of idleness, apathy, conspicuous refusal to consume, to integrate, to venerate.
Thank you, Poppy.
And then he went to live in them baths. And I've been caught on the rebound by a boxing promoter.
Oh, Poppy.
All I wanted was a white wedding with cake and fizz and a little square box to live in and good, clean, regular rabbits. I don't want to make things difficult for the government, the church, the army, the National Health Service, the Civil Service.
Well done.
I don't want to stand in the way of more and better, to bite the hand that strokes me. I don't want to be seen, heard, tasted, or smelled. But you've got to respect me.
Yes, well, I think she's got the hang of that all right, Fountain.
Laura!
And mine was the thin one. It takes all sorts, of course. Can't think why. But I'm not like her. I'm in the market, but I'm not petit bourgeois. I believe that's the expression. Nobody takes me in. They're not persons, not human persons if you dig me. They're figments of nobody's imagination. Oh, I don't hold it against a man for being a bastard, but we can all learn. They don't seem to have picked up anything, if you see what I mean. Non-entities. I like strength in a boy, character. My dreamboat will set me up like a queen when he comes along. I love queens. I want to be a queen to my dreamboat. I've shaved off all my unsightly body hair and deodorized my nooks and crannies. I'm fragrant and exciting and desirable. I'm adorable, delectable.
Thank you, Laura. And now, all that remains is for me to sentence you to your birthday presents. Lady Fountain has the keys to those 2 large boxes that you see behind us. Lady Fountain. children for hope. Few great families like mine cradled the nation in their hands for centuries. When the time came to relinquish, when free institutions grew sturdy, other hands reached out to relieve us of our burden. It is good. What is good is right. What is right is a fearful responsibility. I hope to survive in you, to preserve a continuity. My simple world has been obliterated. I am denied legitimate issue. There is a deadly virus in what they fatuously call the wind of change. I see chaos, disintegration, and madness all around. Who best fitted for a world of madmen than poky fools and amiable madmen like yourselves? And in choosing your gifts, I have sought to make the present fit the crime. You may proceed.
Meanwhile, in the dining room, something stirs in Maggie's mind.
You hear the voice in my head, Felton. They're my babies. My babies.
That was a mistake, darling.
Mistake?
The old fool made out his will in favour of the twins last week. Of course, it's the end of the title.
goes, Mother.
That night, Timothy and Bernard went to Lord Fountain's house in the country to take a last look at their ancestors.
It can't have disappeared. They have no trace. We're proceeding with our inquiries.
Funny, them dolls.
Someone was saying as how them two gents had inherited a bit of money. Country house, townhouse, factories in the Ruhr. 2,000 acres. $500,000 in liquid assets. God knows what else.
Meanwhile, on a tributary of the Amazon River,